think you have a couple of amendments to take us through. And let's find this.
Microphone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I passed out an amendment for you. And as we go through the amendment, I'll also answer the questions that we had yesterday. So we had our good staff attorney prepare this for us last night. So our first part of the amendment is on page 2 after line 19. We've inserted what insurer means. And that's also taken out of 2622-502. So we're just putting in there what an insurer means. So it means a health insurance company or health service corporation authorized in this state to issue policies or subscriber contracts which reimburse for expenses of healthcare services. And I thought I might read that because these amendments aren't anywhere online for the public who might be watching. So I wanted to make sure they knew what that was. We thought that took care of the state or insurance pools where they're the insurer, but there's a plan administrator. And so we thought that definition took care of that concern there. The next thing we talked about was page 3, line 15, we deleted do, and page 3, lines 16 through 21, we deleted entirely. So that was the part about the financial incentives to a participating healthcare provider. We decided if they want to provide financial incentives, we don't want to step on their toes on that. And then the next couple are just grammatical renumbering changes. Page 6, lines 10 through 17, we deleted entirely. That was the part about asking, and we didn't want to infringe on the freedom of speech or cross that bridge, so we took that out. Let me see on our questions if I've passed anything that we needed to talk about. Oh, we're approaching page 8, which was on page 7, we just added a definition in section 2, a conforming statutory definition. And then on page 8, we had a question about private schools, whether under the public accommodation definition in federal statute, if they were included, and yes, they are included in that long list of nurseries and all sorts of private businesses that offer public accommodation. So private schools are included in that definition. If for some reason we want something different, we would have to take them out because they are included in the definition. So that's what we came up with there. And then on page 10, line 7, we're just inserting another definition that creates a new section. It does not go into that doesn't go, it was the childhood immunizations was the last section. It's creates its own new section. It's just a conforming definition with the new insurer definition that we added. And then on page 10, line 23, we deleted ever because I know that was very important to the good vice chairman. So those are the amendments that are on the sheet I passed out to you. The proposed amendments that we discussed yesterday. Those are the answers to the questions that we had. Was there anything else that I missed? I think I covered everything, but go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
Sherry, back on page 5, when it brings in COVID-19 vaccination, means, were you able to get any information? Why do we keep adding that language? And it's consistent. I just want to know why LSO is saying marketed to diminish or decrease the symptoms of COVID-19.
Thank you for asking about that. Yes, so he said that some of the vaccines are now being advertised as to diminish or decrease symptoms. And they left it broader because they didn't want to, make it too narrow. But he said we certainly could put a period after COVID-19 and strike that, but it would be it's a policy decision for the committee.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think I have the same question. I mean, law of unintended consequences. I mean, I understand what we're trying to do here, but let's say there was something, something that was, marketed on television or something, those things say, some herbal supplement or something that is, that wouldn't give anyone any heartburn about taking it. It wouldn't be, what's that? Yeah, whatever. Those things that get them at Walmart, that one, but there might be some that people might want, or I guess it wouldn't matter. So I thought that too when I saw that. I still don't know why.
I think the difference, Mr. Chairman, if I could wade in a little bit, is what he said is those aren't vaccines. I mean, ivermectin's not a vaccine.
Okay.
And so that's a little bit different, but something that's categorized as a vaccine marketed to diminish or decrease the symptoms. So I don't know. Just in their research, they are finding some of them are being marketed that way, which is why they included it. So it'll be up to the body how we want to define that.
Okay, anything else?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think we still have the looming issue of, on page 3, increase the premiums for, on line 1 and 2, increase the premiums for. So that's still something that we need to address. It's not addressed in this amendment. So we haven't moved the bill or done any of that. So I guess it's up to you how you want to proceed with that, but we still need to find a fix on that. I will tell you that when I spoke to Corey last night, or a insurance professional last night, excuse me, they said 5% is a pretty normal average as far as rate increases, and it's a pretty standard increase for the marketplace. So I don't know if we want to just choose a number like that that's an industry standard, but I think our good chairman might have some ideas as well. So did want to address that while we were here.
Now, I don't know if anybody else has had a thought about that, but in thinking about how you limit that, it was increase in premiums, increase the premiums beyond I don't know, and I can't say this artfully, increase in premiums beyond what you'd increase it for any other, for other reasons. So you can't, the premium increase can't be solely and directly limited, or the other one is simply increase premiums, such that it effectively terminates the policy.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
so you're on, I just want to make sure you're on page 2 and 3.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
top of page 3.
Top of page 3, lines 1 and 2, increase the premiums for.
All right, thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all. Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
so I think what we're saying is we don't want people redlined based on what they do or do not have for vaccine policy. But couldn't we add language there to the extent that it is permissible, however, for them to raise premiums based on claims experience?
Claims experience, yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want to limit that at all, and the insurance professional I spoke to also said a wellness benefit is usually not rated for, and so if it's considered a wellness benefit, it shouldn't be rated. It shouldn't increase premiums.
Yeah, I'm really just about to the point where I think that we're just better off to strike it because we already have, they can't reject, deny, limit, cancel, fuse, and effectively what you said, brought us this morning was that if they increase it more than a certain percent, it's considered a cancellation.
Yeah,
anyway, right?
It will, it effectively is, yeah.
All right. So let's go back and so we're actually, the bill was moved. We'd actually done a number of, we hadn't done the bill yet. Okay, we haven't
We
moved the
haven't
bill
moved
yet.
the bill.
All right, so what's your pleasure with the bill?
Move the
Mr.
bill.
Chairman, one other
Second.
question I have. I know that you took public testimony and closed public testimony. We have a couple people in the waiting room. Do you wish to reopen public testimony, or since it's closed, we'll move to moving the bill?
Sure. Were these the folks that were there yesterday and then disappeared?
No, sir.
What's that?
No, sir, they're not. These are persons who were not here last night.
Okay, well, no, I mean, if this bill's gonna move forward, we have to work it and get it out, and we start at 8:30. So, no, we've already heard public testimony. We're in the process of working the bill.
Thank you, sir.
So the bill's been moved. Is there a second?
I seconded.
All right, bill's been moved and seconded. Let's go ahead. So go back now. So page 2, page 1 or 2.
Mr.
Page,
Chairman,
go
do
ahead.
you want to take this amendment as a whole, or do you want to go through it page by page?
Why don't we, just because we do have, let's go through it, let's go ahead and go ahead and let's, on page 2. So we have this, the amendment, go ahead. I think you've explained it, but go ahead, Senator Steinmetz. Let's go ahead and just do it page by page.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on page 2, after line 19, we're going to insert the definition of insurer that I read previously when I took you through the amendment, which is also the same definition in 2622-502. We didn't pull that reference over. I don't know why, but we just inserted insurer. So that's the change on page 2.
So page 2, after line 19, we insert this language, a new Romanet 4. Insurer means an insurance company or a health service corporation authorized in the state to issue policies or subscriber contracts which reimburse for expenses of healthcare services.
Correct.
Okay,
So moved.
we got that moved. Got a second? We got a second? All those in favor, or discussion?
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
And let's go to the next one, page 3. We've got, I just move that we strike increased premiums for.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. You got that? You got that? So far, so good, Karen? Thank you. So we next go to page 3, line 15. Go ahead with the rest of page 3, if you would.
On
Senator
page
Steinmetz.
3, line 15, delete the word do. On page 3, lines 16 through 21, delete entirely.
And so what that would do on the motion is it just takes and says from the middle of page or line 14 on page 3, an insurer providing group or individual policy contractor plan for health insurance shall not require a financial or other penalty on participating healthcare provider who does not attain certain immunization administration for COVID-19.
Correct.
Okay.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I'm curious on line 2, it's participating healthcare provider. Why did we not just say insurer since we inserted a definition of insurer? I think of a healthcare provider as a hospital or a doctor. And we took pains to define insurer on the prior page.
Where are you at?
So
I'm on page 4, line 2, participating healthcare provider.
So what you're prohibiting an insurance
Let me see.
insurer from putting a requirement on an in-plan provider.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right,
yep, I'm okay.
all right. So we're on page, did we?
Okay, so
Move
anyway,
and
is there,
second
is any, are we clear on the motion now?
One other, on page 4, line 1, you delete the Romanet 2. Is the rest of that amendment?
Okay.
Right, we weren't, I think we're on page 3 still, but if you want
Yeah.
to include that, that would be fine with me.
Yeah, and that's,
Senator Kinsky.
that's part of this proposed one. So
All right,
that's included in the motion. I'm assuming that's a friendly motion,
that's.
friendly
that's
amendment,
definitely
excuse me.
is.
Yes.
It is. So is there any, all right, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. So now I think we are to, are we, anything else on page 4, on page 5?
Mr. Chairman, on page 5, we're just deleting a colon on page 5, line 23.
Okay, and that's part of a larger amendment as we get a swing over to page 6. So go ahead, Senator Steinmetz.
That's right, and then we're just redoing some punctuation there. And then on line 6, or page 6, line 8, deleting a semicolon and some periods. On page 6, lines 10 through 17, we're deleting entirely. And that is the section where it says, ask a person or inquire into a person's COVID-19 vaccination status, or ask or inquire whether a person has had a COVID-19 immunity passport in order for the person to access any services, goods, facilities, advantages, and privileges that are public in nature or that invite the patronage of the public, or any licensing, employment opportunities, educational opportunities, or healthcare. We would be deleting that entirely.
Okay. That's the motion, right?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. I think that the next thing that I've struggled with is just simply the placement of this public accommodation statute. And so it's put in Title 35. It's put in Title 35, where the public accommodations are generally in the other public accommodation statutes are in Title 6. And of course, the public accommodation statutes in Title 6 are, which is in crimes and offenses, but simply provides that all persons of good deportment are entitled to the full and equal enjoyment of accommodations, advantages, facilities, privileges, and all of the places or agencies which are public in nature, or which invite patronage of the public without any distinction, discrimination, or restriction on account of race, religion, color, sex, national origin. And then it has a penalty, the same penalty that we've got reiterated here in Title 35. Then the next section simply provides no person shall be denied the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, or the necessities of life because of race, color, creed, sex, or national origin. And then you've got the same penalty there. So, I mean, ultimately what we're doing, we're creating a new public accommodation statute. So we'll have a new public accommodation statute that's only in there. But I went down and talked to the majority floor leader of the House about why he wanted it there, and what he didn't want it in crimes, but it is a crime. I mean, the statute makes it a crime. It makes it an offense. And then he was also concerned that he didn't want to open up the equal enjoyment. He didn't want to raise it to the effort of the level of protected class. But what we're doing here, quite frankly, it's not. I think it's a distinction without a difference. It is a protected class. So I think that begs the question: is we're creating a protected class, or is this what we really want to do?
So at this point in time, can we even move it? I mean, within the guidelines of our bill drafting, we all of a sudden in this committee come and say we're going to move it into a whole different title within, because it's not in the title now. I just don't know
Well,
the mechanics or the legality
think-
of being able to move a bill into a whole new title at this point.
I don't think that's the problem. I think it's within the title. If you look at you look at the paragraph, the title, which is line 1 on page 1, an act relating to the miscellaneous offenses prohibiting discrimination based upon COVID-19 vaccination status is specified. Prohibiting discrimination based on, that's exactly where it is. It's in crimes and offenses and miscellaneous offenses in Title VI.
Mr. Chairman, that's where it started out. And it was organized in a more reader-friendly manner when it was there because insurance didn't come in first and you had all your definitions and you could look at the definitions and it read a lot better in Title VI. And that's where it started out in an effort to work through the mirror process. We made some adjustments and that's the legislative process and what we go through. So, you know, if we want to move it, it does look to me like the title lends itself to that because it was written that way in the first place.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
if you move it out of Title 35, where would you plunk it?
Well,
Titles.
yeah, in Title VI, you'd go to 69101, which is equal enjoyment of a public accommodations facilities penalties. And you just go in subsection A, and what happens is you'd strike all this language and you would do this. It's simply all persons of good deportment are entitled to full enjoyment of all accommodations, advantages, facilities, privileges, and all places or agencies which are public in nature or which invite the patronage of the public without any distinction, discrimination, or restriction on account of race, religion, color, sex, national origin, or the COVID-19 vaccination status. So you'd strike everything in 69101 and you add vaccination status, which makes it very clear what you're doing. And it actually simplifies it significantly. So,
We do that. We gotta come in here. Need to get-
yeah,
Do you bring the insurance thing in there or
no,
you leave
no,
that out?
no, I think all you would
Just pull out the
do,
bill and pull it in and put it in Title VI.
correct. I think you would do it Title VI. And then I think actually what you would do is you would have to take you'd have to define what COVID-19 status means. You'd have to put that. You'd have to just add, you had in C. So you take that and become C in 69101. And so you'd add that language in 69101. And then you add that, and then like I say, then all you do is just add vaccination status to the end of A.
Under that scenario, you basically get rid of starting on page 6. You could get rid of everything on page 6, everything on page 7, all the way down the line.
Actually, start on page 4, line 16. And you get rid of everything down to,
Well, we need to bring in the definition of COVID-19.
well, but yeah, you do. We have to delete it there and then just put it back under the statute so people know.
Right, under Title VI,
Under Title
the
VI.
definition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you'd get rid of the whole, so even when it was in Title VI, all of everything starting on page 7 on was still there to pull that over into all of those other.
Yeah.
So I think so anyway, having thrown that wrench into the works, the other thing is we've got to if we're going to get this out, we got to get it out and get it up the floor. And that may be a second reading amendment, but
Okay,
And Mr. Chairman, as long as we're on that, I just, and this may be a floor amendment too. I'm concerned that there are situations where I think it's legitimate to inquire as to vaccination status. Nursing home, if you run a chemotherapy infusion center, hospitals, I mean, you know, where people are sick or immune suppressed, I think it's a legitimate interest of that facility to make inquiry. Now, if there's a workaround there or something, but I'd be concerned if a nursing home is trying to screen visitors. I mean, plan B is they just don't let anybody in. But if I were trying to visit a
Let me
loved,
help you out really quick. We struck all that language, so now there's no prohibition against asking.
on page 6, lines 2 through 8. You're striking that language, but then you're just simply sticking into the anti-discrimination for public accommodations, vaccination status. I can understand
Okay,
a skilled nursing facility not being able to say, well, you know, we want to inquire as to your race or your religion, but I can, they can't do that, but I can understand vaccination's a different deal. I mean, if I, well, you know, you've been through it. I had a client that was through it. You know, his 95-year-old mother couldn't go and be by the bedside of his 95-year-old father in the nursing home, but it would have been nice to be able to say, mom's been vaccinated. Can she go sit by dad while he dies?
So what you want to do, Senator, if I understand it, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
go ahead.
we need to bring in a series of exemptions in there. Say, in other words, that they can deny you service for the purpose of vital health care reasons.
You know, I just want,
So
so we'll see how the other floor amendment. So is somebody going to bring an amendment to actually just do as the chairman said? Is that are you going to bring a committee of the whole amendment, Mr. Chairman, or are you thinking
I
about
don't think
reading
there's time
2?
will be in committee. Well, there might be time to be committee the whole later today. It's just, if this bill's gonna move forward, it's gotta get rid, you know, it's
Got to get it out. Yeah.
out today.
Yeah, and it's 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to prepare that for the attorneys?
Well, let's go ahead and finish up really quick. And I think if anybody wants to take that on, they can go up and talk to the attorney, and there might be time we can ask them to lay it back later and work on it last, and you might be able to get the whole amendment done in time, you know, in time to have the bill before the bill's heard. I would expect maybe it will take a little while today, so don't have anything else to do. All right, so keep going. Senator Steinman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So after, Karen, did we do page 7, line 16? We inserted the 20, we did that one, didn't we already?
No, because I believe that goes with line 10, page 10, line 7, where
Okay.
that language is actually inserted.
Okay, so page 7, line 16, after 21.4309A, insert 26.1, 102A, XVI, and then page 10, after line 7, insert 26.1, 102 definitions, subsection A as used in this act, except as otherwise provided in 26.2901 and 26.22.501 through 26.22.503. Insurer means any person engaged in as an indemnitor, surety, or contractor in the business of entering into contracts of insurance or annuity. So that is the next one, and I would move that amendment.
Okay,
Second.
discussion. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Amendment's adopted.
And then the last and the least, on page 10, line 23, Senator Hicks's favorite, delete the word ever. I'd move that amendment.
All right. You got a motion and a second discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, is there any other amendments to the bill? Any other amendments to the bill? Are you ready for a question on the bill?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
quick comment, because I have to run. I left a proxy, but I do have some issues with this bill. But I think we've done a pretty good shot at trying to make it a better bill. And I will vote for its passage merely because I want it to get to the floor. I think it's why we came here, is to talk about these issues. And I think it's fair to have this issue run out on the floor. To Mr. Glass, who wrote us a nice note and said that he wanted to testify today. If you read his note, read his comments, I would echo some of those, some of the issues that I see with this bill. But as far as creating, kind of putting some business owners in a crossfire between federal law and state law at the heart of some of my issues. But like I say, I think this issue is important. It needs to get to the floor. So I'll be voting in the affirmative, and I have to leave now. Thank you. Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
have you left the vote?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or ready for the vote? And I'll just echo the same things. I don't think this bill's ready yet, but you know, I guess it's the Saturday Night Live adage is that, you know, we go on now because we're ready, because it's time. And so I'm going to move this forward I have some significant concerns about the bill. I'm going to vote aye so we can move it forward. And I think it is a great platform for further discussion on these issues.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
ditto for myself.
Okay. Anybody else wish to say anything? All right. Let's go ahead and call the roll on the bill.
Yes, sir. On Senate File 1003 as amended, Senator Guru, as he indicated, let the proxy vote aye. Senator Hicks.
Aye.
Senator Kinsky.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz.
Aye.
Chairman Perkins.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Welcome, Sherry.
Mr. Chairman, would you adjourn?
Oh, all right. We'll adjourn. We stand adjourned.